The Gathering Storm. The Xilarian Discovery. The Xilarian Dominion had ruled over 300 star systems for millennia. Their crystalline ships, powered by zero-point energy, were considered the pinnacle of galactic technology. Lord Commander Thexar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Conquest, studying holographic star charts that showed their vast empire stretching across the Orion Arm. "My lord," spoke Sub-Commander Velix, her four arms moving gracefully across the tactical console. "Our long-range scouts have discovered an anomaly in Sector 2817 Beta, a planet with primitive electromagnetic signatures, yet showing rapid technological advancement." Thexar's obsidian eyes narrowed as he examined the data. Earth, a small blue world that had somehow escaped their notice for centuries. The readings were puzzling. The planet showed signs of industrialization, but lacked the energy signatures of faster-than-light travel. By all accounts, it should be an easy conquest, another jewel to add to the Dominion's crown. Primitive species often provide excellent labor forces, Thexar mused, his chitinous armor reflecting the bridge's ambient lighting. "Prepare the 7th Fleet. We'll add this Earth to our collection." The Xilarian military doctrine was simple: overwhelming force applied swiftly and decisively. They had never lost a battle when deploying a full fleet, thousands of ships, millions of warriors, and weapons that could crack continents. Earth, with its apparent lack of space-faring capability, would fall within hours. Earth's desperate hour. 3 months later, every radar station and satellite array on Earth detected the same terrifying signal. Dr. James Chen, director of the Global Space Defense Initiative, stared at his monitors in disbelief. The readings showed a massive energy distortion approaching from the outer solar system. "This can't be right," muttered Chen, adjusting his glasses. "Sarah, run the calculations again." Dr. Sarah Martinez, the lead astrophysicist, shook her head grimly. "I've run them 5 times, James. That's a fleet. A big one. And they're not using any propulsion system we understand." The United Earth government convened an emergency session. President Elena Rodriguez addressed the assembly with a heavy heart. "Ladies and gentlemen, we are facing our greatest challenge. An alien force of unprecedented size is approaching Earth. Our conventional weapons won't be enough. But humanity had a secret, deep beneath the Nevada desert. A joint international project had been developing experimental technology based on quantum mechanics and zero-point energy theories. The prototype ship, christened Phoenix Rising, represented humanity's only hope. The Phoenix and her crew. Captain Maya Blackwood stood before her assembled crew in the underground hangar. The Phoenix Rising loomed behind her, a sleek vessel that looked more like abstract art than a warship. Its hull seemed to shift and flow, utilizing programmable matter that could adapt to any situation. "I won't lie to you," Maya began, her voice carrying the weight of command earned through years of military service. "We're going up against a force that outnumbers us thousands to one. But we have something they don't expect: human ingenuity and the will to survive." Her crew was humanity's best. Lieutenant Commander Alex Volkov, a former cosmonaut and tactical genius. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, the quantum physicist who helped design the Phoenix's revolutionary systems. Chief Engineer Carlos Mendez, who could make machines do things their designers never imagined. And Communications Officer Amara Okafor, whose gift for languages and pattern recognition made her invaluable for potential first-contact situations. "The Phoenix isn't just a ship," explained Dr. Tanaka during the briefing. "It's a quantum probability manipulator. While the aliens rely on brute force and conventional physics, we can literally bend reality around us. Our shields don't just block attacks, they redirect energy through quantum tunneling. Our weapons don't just destroy, they unravel the quantum coherence of matter itself." The crew had trained for months in secret, but nothing could fully prepare them for what lay ahead. As Earth's governments publicly prepared conventional defenses, the Phoenix Rising quietly launched from its hidden facility, cloaked in a quantum field that made it invisible to all known detection methods. First Blood. The Xilarian advance scouts, 3 sleek destroyer-class vessels, entered the solar system expecting no resistance. They were wrong. "Contact," shouted Volkov from his tactical station. 3 ships approaching Earth's defensive perimeter. Maya gripped her command chair. "Amara, any communication attempts?" "Negative, Captain. They're broadcasting on multiple frequencies, but it's all automated. Demands for surrender, threats of annihilation. No attempt at dialogue." The moment of truth had arrived. Maya knew that Earth's future depended on these next few minutes. "Alex, target their lead ship. Let's show them Earth has teeth." The Phoenix's quantum weapons charged silently. Unlike the energy weapons favored by most galactic civilizations, these operated on principles that the Xilarians had never encountered. When Volkov fired, the enemy ship's molecular structure simply ceased. The vessel crumbled into its component atoms. Then those atoms lost cohesion, creating a brief, brilliant flash as matter converted directly to energy. The 2 remaining scouts attempted to flee, their crews broadcasting panicked messages back to the main fleet. They never made it. The Phoenix pursued them with impossible speed, its quantum drive allowing it to skip across space-time like a stone on water. "Captain," Amara reported, her usually calm voice tinged with awe, "I'm intercepting their transmissions. They're afraid. They've never seen technology like ours." Maya nodded grimly. "Good. Fear might be our best weapon. Plot a course to intercept their main fleet. We need to stop them before they reach Earth." As the Phoenix Rising accelerated toward the approaching armada, none of the crew could have imagined how the coming battle would reshape the galaxy. They were 6 humans in an experimental ship, facing the greatest military force in known space. By all logic, they should have been terrified. Instead, they were determined, because that's what humans do when faced with impossible odds. They find a way to make the impossible possible. The calm before the storm. Lord Commander Thexar received the disturbing reports from his advance scouts, or rather, he received their final transmissions before they vanished. 3 Dominion destroyers, erased from existence by a single primitive vessel. It was inconceivable. "Perhaps these humans have acquired technology from another species," suggested Velix, though her voice carried doubt. "The Altarians were known to trade with lesser races before we conquered them." "No," Thexar replied, studying the sensor data. "This is something new. Something we haven't seen before." He paused, his warrior's instincts warring with his contempt for primitive species. "Accelerate the fleet. We'll crush this single ship with overwhelming force, then reduce their planet to molten glass as an example to others." The Xilarian 7th Fleet, over 3,000 vessels carrying millions of warriors, adjusted course and increased speed. Their formation was perfect, their weapons charged, their shields at maximum. They had conquered civilizations far more advanced than Earth appeared to be. One ship, no matter how unusual, couldn't possibly threaten them. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Meanwhile, aboard the Phoenix Rising, the crew prepared for the battle of their lives. Dr. Tanaka made final adjustments to the quantum systems while Chief Mendez performed what he called percussive maintenance on components that shouldn't have worked together but somehow did. "Captain," Volkov called out, "long-range sensors show the main fleet. It's massive. I'm counting over 3,000 vessels." Maya stood, looking at the tactical display. Each point of light represented enough firepower to devastate a continent. But instead of despair, she felt a strange calm. Humanity had always been at its best when the odds were worst. "Yuki, what's the status on the quantum torpedoes?" "Loaded and ready, Captain. Remember, we only have 12. Each one takes enormous power to maintain quantum coherence. And the probability drive. Operating at peak efficiency, we can make 7 jumps before needing to recharge." Maya nodded. 7 jumps, 12 torpedoes, and 1 ship against 3,000. In any conventional battle, it would be suicide. But this wouldn't be a conventional battle. Amara, I want you to monitor their communications. Look for command structures, any sign of weakness in their coordination. Already on it, Captain. Their communication protocols are actually quite rigid, very hierarchical. Everything flows through their command ship. A smile played at the corners of Maya's mouth. Rigid command structures were a weakness, not a strength. Humans had learned that lesson through millennia of warfare. Carlos, I need you to work miracles with our power systems. We're going to push the Phoenix beyond its design limits. The engineer grinned. Captain, pushing things beyond their limits is what humans do best. You get us close, and I'll make this ship dance. As the Phoenix Rising approached the Solarian fleet, the crew made their final preparations. Earth's fate hung in the balance, but they carried with them something more powerful than any weapon. The indomitable human spirit that had allowed their species to survive everything the universe had thrown at them. The battle was about to begin. The unexpected victory. The battle begins. The Solarian 7th Fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, their crystalline hulls gleaming in the light of Sol. Lord Commander Thexar stood on his command deck, supremely confident despite the earlier reports of his destroyed scouts. 3,000 ships against one. It wasn't even a battle, it was an execution. All ships, assume attack formation Theta 9, Thexar commanded. Surround the human vessel and fire on my mark. Leave nothing but atoms. But as the fleet moved to encircle their target, something unprecedented happened. The Phoenix Rising simply vanished. One moment it was there, a blip on their sensors, and the next it was gone. Not destroyed, not cloaked, but completely absent from local spacetime. Impossible, Velix exclaimed. No ship can jump that quickly. There's no energy buildup, no spatial distortion. Before anyone could respond, the Phoenix reappeared, inside their formation. Quantum torpedoes launched in a spiraling pattern, each one targeting a critical command vessel. The weapons didn't explode in any conventional sense. Instead, they created localized tears in spacetime itself, causing a cascade effect that pulled surrounding ships into quantum singularities. 12 torpedoes, 12 singularities, 300 Solarian vessels gone in the blink of an eye. Chaos in the ranks. Scatter formation. Thexar roared, his composure finally breaking. All ships, independent targeting. Destroy that vessel. But scattering was exactly what Captain Blackwood had hoped for. The Solarian fleet's great strength, its coordinated hierarchical command structure, became its greatest weakness. Ships collided as they tried to maneuver. Weapons fire crossed paths, causing friendly fire incidents. The rigid chain of command that had served them so well in conventional battles crumbled in the face of an enemy that refused to fight by their rules. The Phoenix danced between reality and quantum probability, appearing just long enough to fire its exotic weapons before shifting again. Each appearance lasted mere seconds, but the damage was devastating. Maya had studied military history, from ancient guerrilla warfare to modern asymmetric conflicts. She understood what the Solarians didn't, that the greatest victories often came not from strength, but from exploiting an enemy's assumptions. Captain, their fleet communication is in chaos, Amara reported. I'm detecting panic across their command structure. They've never encountered anything like our quantum systems. Good, Maya replied, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. Alex, target their supply ships and support vessels. Without logistics, even the mightiest fleet becomes helpless. Volkov's fingers flew across his console, and the Phoenix's weapons found their marks with surgical precision. Fuel tankers erupted in brilliant fireballs. Ammunition ships detonated in chain reactions that consumed dozens of nearby vessels. The Solarian fleet, so overwhelming in its conventional might, began to eat itself alive. The turning point. Lord Commander Thexar watched in horror as his invincible armada disintegrated around him. Ships crashed into each other trying to target the phantom human vessel. Entire battle groups were consumed by cascade failures as their coordination broke down. And through it all, that single human ship continued its impossible dance, striking where they were weakest, vanishing before they could respond. "Lord Commander," Velix said, her voice trembling with something the Xelarians rarely experienced, "fear. We've lost 60% of the fleet. Our formation is compromised. We must retreat." The word retreat had never been uttered on a Xelarian command deck before. They were the conquerors, the inevitable force that swept across the galaxy. They didn't retreat. They conquered or died. But as Thexar watched another battle group disappear into a quantum anomaly, he realized they faced something beyond their understanding. These humans hadn't just developed advanced technology. They had developed an entirely different approach to warfare. "All ships," Thexar commanded, each word tasting like poison. "Emergency jump to fallback coordinates. Retreat." But the Phoenix had one more surprise. Dr. Tanaka had been monitoring the Xelarian jump drives, analyzing their quantum signatures. As the enemy fleet began to charge their hyperspace engines, she activated the Phoenix's most experimental system, the quantum interference field. "Initiating quantum lock," Yuki announced. "Their jump drives are destabilizing." Space itself seemed to ripple as the Phoenix projected a field that interfered with the delicate quantum calculations required for hyperspace travel. Xelarian ships attempting to jump found their drives malfunctioning, creating localized space-time distortions that tore them apart from the inside. "They can't run," Carlos observed with grim satisfaction. "We've got them trapped in normal space." Humanity's finest hour. The battle had become a rout. The mighty Xelarian 7th Fleet, terror of the galaxy, was being systematically dismantled by a single human ship. But Maya knew they couldn't destroy every vessel. The Phoenix's power systems were approaching their limits, and her crew was exhausted from the intense concentration required to operate their quantum systems. "Amara, open a channel to their command ship," Maya ordered. "It's time to talk." After a moment, Amara nodded. "Channel open, Captain. You're connected to their commander." Maya stood, straightening her uniform. Even though it was audio only, she wanted to project authority. "Lord Commander Thexar, this is Captain Maya Blackwood of the Earth ship Phoenix Rising. Your fleet is defeated. Surrender now, and we'll allow your surviving ships to leave peacefully." The silence stretched for long seconds before Thexar's response came through, his voice a mixture of rage and disbelief. "You dare offer terms? You, a primitive species that shouldn't even have spaceflight. That primitive species just destroyed 2/3 of your fleet," Maya replied calmly. "And we can finish the job if necessary. But humans prefer peace to war. Surrender, leave our system, and tell your dominion that Earth is off limits. Attack us again, and we'll take the war to your home worlds." It was a bluff, of course. The Phoenix was unique, and Earth couldn't produce another for years. But the Xelarians didn't know that, and their confidence was shattered. "You haven't won," Thexar snarled. "The Dominion will send more fleets, larger fleets. And we'll be ready," Maya responded. "We've learned your technology, your tactics, your weaknesses. Each battle will only make us stronger. Is your pride worth the destruction of your entire civilization?" The question hung in the void. On the bridge of the eternal conquest, Thexar faced the hardest decision of his life. His warrior's pride demanded he fight to the death, but his duty to his species required survival. "Terms accepted," he finally said, the words tearing at his soul. "We surrender." The new dawn. As the battered remnants of the Xelarian fleet limped away from Sol system, the crew of the Phoenix Rising finally allowed themselves to feel the magnitude of what they'd accomplished. They had faced impossible odds and won not through superior firepower, but through innovation, adaptability, and the unconquerable human spirit. "Captain," Volkov said quietly, "do you think they'll really stay away?" Maya looked out at the stars, thinking of Earth below and the future that lay ahead. "Maybe not forever. But we've bought time. Time to prepare, time to grow. And next time, we won't be alone. She was right. News of Earth's victory spread through the galaxy like wildfire. Species that had lived in fear of the Xelarian dominion suddenly saw hope. The humans, barely spacefaring by galactic standards, had done the impossible. They had shown that might didn't always make right, that innovation could triumph over tradition, and that sometimes one ship with the right crew could change everything. The galaxy changed forever. In the months that followed, Earth found itself transformed from an unknown backwater to the center of a growing alliance. Species seeking protection from the Dominion, others simply curious about these humans who had achieved the impossible, began arriving at Sol System. The Phoenix Rising became a symbol of hope across the galaxy. Its crew, once unknown except to a few Earth officials, became legends. Captain Maya Blackwood was offered command of entire fleets, but she declined, choosing instead to remain with the ship and crew that had saved humanity. Dr. Tanaka's quantum theories revolutionized galactic science. Within a year, Earth had built 3 more quantum drive vessels, each improvement making them more powerful and efficient. Chief Engineer Mendez founded the Terran Innovation Institute, where beings from across the galaxy came to learn the human approach to problem solving. But perhaps the most significant change came in how the galaxy viewed conflict itself. The Xelarian defeat had shown that overwhelming force wasn't always the answer. That sometimes the smallest dog in the fight could win through sheer determination and clever thinking. Lord Commander Thexar never forgot his defeat, but in his private moments, he found himself studying human military history, fascinated by a species that had turned warfare into an art form of adaptation and innovation. When younger officers asked him about the Battle of Sol, he would say simply, "We expected millions. They sent one ship, and that one ship changed everything." Epilogue. The human touch. 5 years after the Battle of Sol, the galaxy had transformed. The Xelarian dominion still existed, but it was no longer the unopposed power it had been. Dozens of species had formed defensive alliances, many centered around human technology and tactics. Earth had become a center of learning and innovation. The quantum technologies developed for the Phoenix Rising found applications in fields from medicine to communication. Humanity's greatest export wasn't weapons or ships, it was a way of thinking, an approach to problems that emphasized creativity over convention. Captain Maya Blackwood stood on the observation deck of Harmony Station, Earth's first interstellar diplomatic hub. Through the viewports, she could see ships from 100 different worlds, all gathered in peace. It was a sight she could hardly have imagined during those desperate hours when the Phoenix faced the Xelarian fleet. "You know," Alex Volkov said, joining her at the viewport, "I sometimes wonder what would have happened if we had a full fleet that day." Maya smiled. "We probably would have lost. A fleet would have fought their fleet on their terms. One ship forced us to think differently." It was true. Humanity's greatest strength had always been its ability to adapt, to find unconventional solutions to impossible problems. The Phoenix Rising hadn't won through superior firepower. It had won by being unpredictably, creatively, brilliantly human. As Maya watched the stars, she thought about the future. There would be other challenges, other threats. The galaxy was vast, and not all its inhabitants were friendly. But humanity had announced itself on the galactic stage not as conquerors, but as innovators. Not as destroyers, but as builders. And sometimes, when the odds were impossibly stacked against you, one ship was all you needed. One ship, one crew, and the unbreakable human spirit that refused to accept defeat. The Phoenix Rising still flew, now as the flagship of Earth's growing fleet. But its greatest victory would always be that first impossible battle, when 6 humans in an experimental ship faced down an empire and won. They had expected millions. They got one human ship, and that ship destroyed not just a fleet, but an entire galaxy's conception of what was possible. In the end, that was humanity's greatest weapon. Not quantum torpedoes or probability drives, but the simple refusal to accept that anything was truly impossible, and that more than any technology would carry them to the stars.